In fact, what it means for humans to flourish is itself a moral notion. It depends on the notion of human nature, what human beings were, in a certain sense, intended to be. And if there is no intention for them, if there is no obligation with regards to human beings, then there is no content to the notion of human flourishing either.
Gilbert Ryle, the philosopher in the early 19th century, gives us the idea of a category mistake, which is basically when you have one notion and confuse it with another. And I think that's essentially what you're doing.
I'm missing some of the words here. I'm sorry. Could you slow down a little?
Sure. There's something called a category mistake. And
okay, I know what that is.
With all due respect, I believe you're making that. I think you're using two different notions of evil. I think you're defining the word evil and then some thing that is an evil.
Okay, can you explain your claim is that I'm making a category error. For the rest of you, a category error is when you ascribe something or you ask a question about something that doesn't properly apply to it. So how much does the color yellow weigh? Well, that's the wrong question. That's a category error, but you can't answer that question because colors don't have weights. I fail to see how my reference to the concept of evil here is something that is guilty of category error. I'll finish the thought and I'll let you jump back, okay, in this one situation, and then ask your question. Because my point is that we are beholding something that is evil, just as we would behold a color. And all I'm saying is we have faculties that allow us to see that, and faculties that allow us to make judgments on those kinds of things. I don't see how that could be a category error, and if you want to suggest why, I'd be glad to try to respond to it.
Well, yeah, on one grounds, like when you showed us all the pictures and it gave us stories of things that were evil, that's basically the faculty of being able to understand what the word evil might mean, but that doesn't imply that there's something objectively evil. That just means, based on our idea of what we think evil means, we can probably identify the meaning of the word, but evil itself is not.
If we could just move it along, I don't want to get a big discussion between the audience and the speakers tonight. I'm going to let Professor Baker have his minute to reply to that, though.
I'd just like to correct one thing. Gilbert Ryle wasn't 19th century, he's 20th century. He was my graduate tutor, first one. This is a point of privilege. I may be old and look old, but I'm not that old. But I'd like to make a more serious comment, if I may. The crucial thing here is that Greg, I take it, was trying to give an example of evil and produced a description or a reference to an incident, and we're all supposed to recognize that evil was done in that particular case, which I'm sure we all do. I certainly do. But that does not prove that there is objective evil. I take it this is the point. All it proves is that there is a great harm that's been done, which is true, and a great misery was caused, which is true, and that it may well be that we would all agree on that, but that doesn't show there are objective standards here.
I think watching this tonight has really solidified why I did not take a philosophy degree. Holy crow! Wow, you guys spin a lot of circles. Anyhow, being a solution-focused person, wanting kind of an answer, I'm confused. And I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that morality is culturally derived in many ways. Things are different. We don't obviously disfigure female genitalia here in Canada. That's even a little easier than genocide, right? Because that can be very subjective. However, my question for you, is there any research please, on is there any universal morals across cultures? Has there been any studies that has looked at different cultures and said, is there any morals that are universal, that every culture believes is evil or wrong? And actually, this is a yes-no question, and if it is a yes, then give me some of your research.
Yes. But it doesn't prove a damn thing. There was lots of studies on incest taboos in the 50s. If you look up the word taboo, the most frequently occurring name is a good author to look up. He's very good. And there are a few others that are completely common, like the almost universal view that it's okay to kill strangers. But absolutely nothing follows from this about whether it's morally permissible to kill strangers. Just because everyone thinks it's okay to kill strangers, almost all cultures think it's okay to kill strangers. At least through history that's been true. But from that it doesn't follow that it's okay to kill strangers. Very fundamental point. So there's research, but I suspect you're a social scientist, and social scientists want footnotes and empirical studies, but empirical studies in the particular domain don't show much.
The answer, I think, is yes to your question. Actually, C.S. Lewis has a list of moral principles that seem to span all cultures in the back of a book that he wrote called The Abolition of Man. And though the fact that people all hold those views doesn't prove that moral objectivism exists, my appeal was different. It does seem to be consistent with the view and would make sense. So I see that as supporting evidence to the view.
I apologize, I didn't mean to be as dismissive with my last comment as I was. That was very rude of me.
Well, I'm afraid that's 8 questions. That was our originally intended question and answer period. That pretty much concludes today's debate. I know you were handed survey questions. If you'd like to hand those back in to the people who are collecting them, they'd appreciate that very much. And I believe our speakers may stick around for a while, but keep in mind they do have places to be if you'd like to maybe give them a question and ask them a question in person. Thank you all for coming out.